The next major storm is already on the horizon. I'm meteorologist Don Paul. Welcome to my podcast, Don Paul's Bits o' Blather on Weather and Climate. We'll leave out the humor for now. And this next storm system has a different component to it. When it goes by, this time it will put in a first time polar blast into the eastern Great Lakes, and western New York, being in the eastern Great Lakes, will feel it. And this polar blast has some staying power, unlike anything we've experienced in this cold weather season, following up on the second warmest December on record since the National Weather Service located to the airport during World War II. But first, the immediate weather. We've got strong westerly winds. We've had some peak gusts to over 50 miles an hour today on southwest winds. That's a more traditional orientation for the strongest winds on the Niagara frontier, but not experiencing the kind of damage which broke out yesterday when there were quite a few gusts of 70 and higher from Buffalo to the south, and some pretty good gusts on the Niagara frontier as well. However, tonight, westerly winds will keep most of the lake snow confined to the hilly terrain, where there may be a few inches of slushy accumulation on the slopes which face Lake Erie. Some snow showers to the north probably won't stick much. Below the southern tier locations, temperatures could drop into the upper 20s, but at lower elevations should remain in the low 30s. On Thursday, a couple of periods of lake snow and lake enhanced snow could bring a fresh 1 to 2 inches even to the Niagara frontier during the afternoon hours. Probably with temperatures above freezing, no real impact on the afternoon commute. But again, more accumulations on the hills, where a few hills could see as much as 6 to 8 inches by midday on Thursday. On the Niagara frontier, maybe a few slick spots for the ride home on bridges and overpasses. Friday is the next day to watch for the development of another major storm system, which will take shape over Louisiana and Arkansas and make a beeline toward the Great Lakes. As it moves northward, it will begin to develop some severe thunderstorms in parts of the Gulf states once again. And then as it explosively deepens, it will pose another major severe weather threat with tornadic thunderstorms over parts of the southeast on Saturday. Southeast U.S., not the Great Lakes. But it has problems that are lining up for the Great Lakes. During Friday, southeast winds will strengthen in the afternoon as mixed precipitation or brief snow sets up from southwest to northeast late Friday afternoon in western New York. Southeast winds will increase and could produce some damaging gusts once again, but this time most of the damaging wind potential will stay well south of Buffalo, along the Lake Erie shoreline from, say, Angola down to the state line, on the Chautauqua Ridge, the hilltops to the south. Just plain windy on the Niagara frontier. Southeast winds are ahead of the storm. By Saturday morning, this deep low will begin tracking once again north and west of us, a favorable track to do several things. Produce strong to possibly high winds, that's a severe weather term, Saturday afternoon once its cold front goes by. And behind this cold front comes our first true polar outbreak. And this one will have some staying power. But let's get through our weekend. During Saturday afternoon, as temperatures fall through the 30s toward the 20s by evening, some significant lake effect snow is likely to set up in the strong southwest winds. Now, the models we rely upon this far in advance are global models, the European model, the American GFS. They are lower in resolution and detail than the high resolution models, but those only run 48 to 60 hours in advance, so we can't utilize them just yet. The fuzzier data suggests, and it's not really fuzzy, there's some real detail, lake effect snow of a significant nature will be setting up across the Niagara frontier Saturday afternoon, and then winds will begin veering from southwest to a more westerly orientation, and that would tend to steer that lake effect snow band to the south. Now, yesterday, on Tuesday, the American model was suggesting that by the time we got to Sunday morning, most of the lake snow would be below Orchard Park. Even if that were to occur, you can expect slippery roads on the way to the stadium Sunday morning, because that band has to cross all the roads on the way to the stadium, even if it does settle into the hilly terrain. However, today's guidance from both the American and the European models is suggesting that band, if it does slip south, will be coming back north. And even the American GFS model does bring the lake effect snow back, not just to Orchard Park, but at least into and across the southern part of the Buffalo metro area, possibly up to Buffalo. This will be accompanied by some very gusty winds, which means within the intense snowfall portions of the band, there will be near whiteouts. We're talking about west-southwest winds averaging 20 to 30 and some peak gusts of 35 to 40. With or without the snow, here's what's a lock. It's going to be harsh. The actual temperature will be in the low 20s on Sunday, but the wind chill will be in the single digits, and that's what you really need to dress for. This is hazardous cold, not as hazardous as things would have been Saturday night. Kansas City and Miami will be dealing with wind chills in the minus 20s Saturday night. That is truly dangerous and could be life-threatening for those not properly clothed. And that's worse than anything we're going to experience, but we do have real winter on the way. As I said, very harsh on Sunday. If the lake effect snow does as the European and GFS models are suggesting today, travel on the way home is going to be difficult and slow with snow and blowing snow. The lake effect may break up a little bit by Monday with a disturbance going by, but the general picture for next week is there will be several episodes of oscillating lake effect snow. It may spend the majority of its time over the hilly terrain, but oscillations are likely to take it farther north to the Niagara frontier from time to time, and whatever falls will be sticking. And whatever falls is likely to be blowing around too. Most of the time it will be windy, meaning your furnace is going to take a real hit, or I should say your wallet. Temperatures next week anywhere from the upper teens to near 20 with, of course, sub-zero wind chills at times and a really harsh pattern. The lake is 42 degrees on this date. That is 2 degrees warmer than it's ever been on January 10th, with records going back to 1928, 8 degrees above average. And that lake will not be icing up. However much the lake temperature falls next week, it will stay, the lake, wide open all of next week. It really takes a while to get to 32 degrees and for ice to begin to form. As for a national issue, it looks like wind chills in the minus 30s for the Iowa caucus and in the minus 20s on the Tuesday primary day. What impact that has on turnout is out of my lane, but that's something to keep an eye on. So the bottom line, again, a tough day on Sunday, maybe not for the final outcome of the game, but for the fans, it's going to be rough, and for the players, too. Some very harsh conditions with the possibility of significant lake effect snow over or very near the stadium on Sunday. Thanks for listening this far. Please follow my podcast, and I'll keep you updated here on the podcast and on social media, Facebook and Twitter. No, I won't call it X. Not going to do it. Thanks for listening.